Brené Brown's books, Daring Greatly and The Gift of Imperfection, gave me the courage to be vulnerable, to face my demons, and to find and discover my authentic self that had been lost a long time ago, somewhere along the way. I think you all know what that means. In this episode, I'm going to share the 5 vulnerabilities that I experienced and also give you 3 practical ways in which you can face your own so you also can discover that you are just as worthy of love and belonging. Please join me on this journey. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. This is a speech given by Teddy Roosevelt in 1910 in Sorbonne, Paris. It's called The Man in the Arena. I stole it from the book of my rock star Brené Brown called Daring Greatly, because what we're going to talk about comes from some of the underpinnings in her book. And I want to read another portion of the book before we move forward, because what we are talking about today is vulnerability. What we are discussing is reaching into the depths of our soul without fear, and even with fear, and being vulnerable to find where authenticity lives, where peace resides. So here's Brené's definition of vulnerability. Vulnerability is not weakness, and the uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure we face every day are not optional. Our only choice is a question of engagement. Our willingness to own and engage with our vulnerability determines the depth of our courage and the clarity of our purpose. The level to which we protect ourselves from being vulnerable is a measure of our fear and disconnection. Rather than sitting on the sidelines and hurling judgment and advice, we must dare to show up and let ourselves be seen. This is vulnerability. This is daring greatly. I love that paragraph. Now, there was a time a few years ago when I was finding myself stuck in the same morass that many of us find ourselves in. I was having a hard time dealing with my own vulnerability and finding the courage to live an authentic life. It was a very difficult time, and I had to make some really, really hard choices in life. The book that I read at that time was called The Gifts of Imperfection. And the reason that book spoke to me is because I always felt imperfect. I just didn't fit in. Whether it was from high school, coming to the US, the accent in which people spoke, people didn't even laugh at my jokes. I was a jokester in college and in high school, but I tried to translate my jokes from Hindi to English, and naturally no one laughed at them. So fitting in became a big, big challenge for me, and I had to deal with my own vulnerability. But I was scared. Just like many of us, I was scared. And as I understood that further, what I found is that most of us are stuck in 2 layers of our existence. The layer of thoughts and the layer of action. We think and we act. We think and we act, and we are stuck in these 2 layers. Vulnerability to me, as I investigated further and introspected further, was about challenging beliefs. Belief systems that sat below my layer of thoughts, that created the thoughts. In high school, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're too fat. You're ugly. And as we grow up, you should do this. You should do that. You should not do this. And you should not do that. You're not sexy enough. You have a belly coming out. You got a big butt. I do have a big butt, but that's besides the point. The belief systems take seat, and they create the thoughts and then the action, and we get stuck in thoughts and actions. Vulnerability, to me, is about challenging those belief systems. It's about coming face to face with them head on and asking the question, is this me? Coming face to face with your belief systems is not easy. You know, the fear in me was so apparent that I would get up in the morning and I would go to the bathroom to brush my teeth. As soon as I would wash my face and look up in the mirror, I would say, who are you? What is the kind of life you're living? And I knew the masks that I was wearing, the personas I had, one for my children, one for my wife, one for my co-workers, one for my boss, one for my friends, one for the rest of the world. I think you can all relate to that. We go home and we behave and act sometimes differently. Not all of us, of course. Some of us are completely connected with ourselves, but most of us have that challenge. I surely did. And that fear is very nicely and rather humorously written in Daring Greatly, Brené's book, and I'll read this to you. So she goes to her therapist after some awakening, and she says, I looked right at her and said, I freaking hate vulnerability. I figured she's a therapist. I'm sure she had tougher cases. Plus, the sooner she gets to know what she's dealing with, the faster we can get this whole therapy thing wrapped up. I hate uncertainty. I hate not knowing. I can't stop opening myself to getting hurt or being disappointed. It's excruciating. Vulnerability is complicated, and it's excruciating. Do you know what I mean? Diana, her therapist, Diana nods. Yes, I know vulnerability. I know it well. It's an exquisite emotion. And then she looks up and kind of smiles, as if she's picturing something really beautiful. I'm sure I look confused because I can't imagine what she's picturing. I'm suddenly concerned for her well-being and my own. I said it was excruciating, not exquisite, I point out. And let me say this for the record, if my research didn't link being vulnerable with living a wholehearted life, I wouldn't be here. I hate how it makes me feel. What does it feel like? Like I'm coming out of my skin. Like I need to fix whatever's happening and make it better. And if you can't, then I feel like punching someone in the face. And do you? No, of course not. So what do you do? Clean the house? Eat peanut butter? Blame people? Make everything around me perfect? Control whatever I can, whatever's not nailed down. When do you feel most vulnerable? When I'm in fear. This from a person who came to terms with her own fear. An expert that we all look up to. She has the same vulnerabilities as you and I do. She's a normal human being. That's why we like her so much. We can relate with how she feels with vulnerability. Scary as shit. But the prize awaiting us if we face our vulnerability is invaluable. I have experienced it personally. I know Brené has, I know many of you have. So what you're about to hear are my sensibilities about this concept of vulnerability. As I mentioned in my previous episode, that appreciation of art and excellence is my top signature strength. It's number 3. So the 5 vulnerabilities that I have discovered with my own sensibilities relate to my experience in nature. The first is fear. I was in Whistler hiking in this little mountain with a friend, and I saw this beautiful white daisy. And right next to the white daisy was a beautiful flower bud of the same daisy. They were right next to each other. I took a photograph of that. It's one of my favorite photographs of all time. What it said to me is, this flower bud is scared. It's fearful to open up. But if she could see what beauty could come out of it, if she could look at the flower next to her and see what beauty could come out of it, she could in fact become vulnerable and open herself up. And yet this flower is anchored in place with the roots and is fearful of moving too far out. And that's okay. It's experimenting with vulnerability. Second is faith. So when I was growing up and when I came to the US, my mother, a deeply religious woman, I miss her a lot. She passed away a few years ago. She would recite this hymn, and I'm going to recite it to you. It may not mean much, but I will explain to you what it means, because the feeling is in the way she would recite it to me. Ude ud ave sa kosa, pache bachre chharya, kavan khilave, kavan chugave, man mein simran karya. This is a hymn from Guru Granth Sahib, which is the religious script for the Sikhs. And here, the meaning of this hymn is relating to migratory birds, that they fly hundreds of thousands of miles and leave their little ones behind. All they can do is have the faith. They ask the question, who's going to feed them, who's going to teach them to fly, who's going to take care of them. But they have the faith that there is a bigger power that will. And they are willing to take that risk and become vulnerable in their flight. Some of them never make it back to see their loved ones, but they have that faith, unshakable faith in something bigger than themselves. The third is love. We're all familiar with this. But to me, love is like the river. The river starts in the bosom of a glacier. Drop by drop makes its way down, waterfalls falling thousands of feet on sharp rocks, traveling through dark jungles, but never losing hope and love that it has to meet something bigger than itself, its creator, its true love, the ocean. And when it meets the ocean, it becomes bigger than itself. It still stays water, but no longer a river. Her expanse becomes much larger than she could have ever imagined. And peace at the bottom of the ocean then is permanently hers. The fourth is belief. Belief to me is like the sunset. And I ask the question, the sun is setting, as in dying, but spreading so much beauty in its death. Will I be able to live like that? Because the sun has the belief that it will rise again, that it will come back to spread more light. Can I have that belief? Can I be that vulnerable to spread beauty when I am setting? And the final one is sacrifice. The sacrifice of a ripe fruit that falls to the ground and gives itself up. It rots, it deteriorates, to open its bosom and let expose the seeds that lay within, because it knows that they hold the promise for the future, that that's where propagation of its own kind lies. That's what will bring more benefit to the world. That's the vulnerability of the ultimate kind, self-sacrifice. Now, all of us live life in different ways. Some of these may speak to you, they may not, and that's okay. But what I'm going to give you now are action steps, not just theories, not just talk or philosophies, action steps on how to face your vulnerability with courage to live an authentic life. All right, so here's 3 action steps that you can take to really face your fears, face your vulnerability, and find that courage to identify what's authentic in you and how you really want to live. The first is the easy one, but perhaps the most important one. Read the book Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. Now, she's not related to me. This is not a promotional for her. She doesn't even know me. I found golden nuggets in it because they are very easy to relate to. And I think you'll find some that you can relate to. And they gave me the hope, they gave me the strength, they gave me the courage to unearth what was hidden under the layers that life had put on it. The thoughts that I talked about earlier, the belief systems that were hiding what I really wanted to uncover. Now, it's a process, right? It's not like you do this and tomorrow you read Daring Greatly and you're suddenly an authentic person and you can go on and find that meaningful life and happiness. It's a process, it's a marathon. Second is identify which of the 5 vulnerabilities that we talked about you can relate to. Is it fear, faith, belief, love, or sacrifice? Which one of them speaks to you? And if none of them speaks to you, it's okay. Find your own, whatever it is, but at least take a look inside and see what may await you. And the prize, as I said earlier, is invaluable. So read the book and then find a way to identify which vulnerability speaks to you. Finally, very, very important, don't go it alone. Don't do this on your own. You know, we are raised in a society today where independence, our personal independence, means a lot to us. Ask the person or persons who are not going to judge you, who are going to take you at the face value, who will cherish you, who will value you, who will support you in this journey. Perhaps they themselves have gone through the same journey. Find someone that you can confide in. Do not do this alone. This is not a journey for the feeble. It takes strength, and you can find that strength, and the church bells are telling me that that strength exists in all of us. You can hear them in the background. But here's the part that I think I want to leave you with, is facing your fear, your biggest opponent. Seneca, in this other wonderful book called The Daily Stoic, written by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman, it's a daily stoicism about finding inspiration. I judge you unfortunate because you have never lived through misfortune. You've passed through life without an opponent. No one can ever know what you're capable of, not even you. And I think that's the irony, that if you don't know who you are and you yourself fail to discover it, what are you leaving behind? A treasure, a potential, a surprise that could create something dramatically meaningful for you. Thank you for joining us today. Before you go, I'd like to tell you about two important things. First, a little bit about Karuṇā, and second, how you can be part of this journey with us. At Karuṇā, our mission is threefold. First, to support and empower youth and women who've suffered unspeakable abuse, neglect, abandonment, trafficking, and all of the traumas that life brings their way, unfortunately. Second, to support early childhood education in disadvantaged communities to help break the cycle of vicious poverty and abuse. And third, to fund well-being research through our esteemed scientific advisory board in areas that are disadvantaged. You can join us in one of 5 ways. They are listed on our website. So subscribe to this channel and subscribe to this website. You may volunteer with us, you can contribute, you can sponsor, you can be part of this journey to unleash compassion and make this world a happier place. Thank you.